Nehemiah chapter 2 through 6. We can see his faith, data, and balance, lessons. These are all the factors important for him to make a good decision. Okay, faith is the first important thing when he make a decision. So Nehemiah, he prayed and fasted before taking actions. We can see that Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4 through 11. And then the data, he inspected the walls at night together for first-hand information. That is, we see Nehemiah chapter 2, 11 to 15. Then the balance we can also see in his decision making. His plan that is combined spiritual conviction. So the hands of my God was upon me. That's what he said when he does make a decision. With practical strategy, that is also very important coming when we make decision. So assigning specific sections to the family, right? When they make the wall of the temple. Then we can also learn the lessons, which is prayerful dependence on God, must inform and not replace careful analysis. Also, we can see another example in Old Testament, which is Joseph's case, Joseph's story. When he was in Egypt, we see that story, Genesis chapter 41. Okay, faith, Joseph received the divine revelation through Pharaoh's dream, right? And then data, he also interpreted the dream into 14-year economic forecasts and then developed detailed agriculture plan. We see that story in the Bible with Joseph in Egypt. And then we see also the balance. God provided the vision. Joseph implemented it through logistical management and collecting grain during a surplus year to prepare for famine. Then lesson we can learn is a faith that is provided the insight that is data-guided execution. Also, we can see another story in New Testament with Paul's missionary strategy. The specific story we can find is Book of Acts, chapter 16. Faith. First, the Holy Spirit directed him away from Asia into Macedonia. Then the data he gathered was Paul later selected urban centers like Corinth and Ephesus. That is location of high population and trade influence. That indicating strategic reasoning. Okay, then the lesson we can learn is spirit-led doesn't mean unplanned. Okay, so faith guided his where, and then data informed his how. So we can learn these lessons, and then we can adopt these principles to modern church, business, and schools. Like the church application is like, a pastor, they planning to launch a new campus. Praise for God's direction, but also studied community demographics, transportation accesses, and local needs. Also, we don't forget the factor when we make decision is like faith, data, and outcomes. So faith element, we see praying is the most important part in making decision. So praying for spiritual readiness and discernment of God's timing. Then the data element, we reviewing census data, right? Member surveys and financial reports. And then the outcomes, the decision integrate divine calling with evidence-based stewardship. And then also we can apply this principle to Christian school administrations. So Christian school board faces decision on expanding online educations. That's example, right? For new plan. So it always comes first with faith element. So principals, administrator, they are seeking God's will through prayer and reflection on the mission of Christian education. And then another thing they can go with is data element, analyzing student enrollment trends and technology costs and accreditation standards. These are all elements of data factor. Then the outcome. What is the outcome? The final decision that is respect both a spiritual mission and academic sustainability. Also, we can apply that principle to modern business context. So, Christian entrepreneur deciding to open a new project line that uses financial forecast, marketing analysis, and also prayerful discernment. First, it comes with faith element, asking, does this align with God's purpose for my company? That is important. The data element, reviewing customer feedback and ROI projections. Then the outcome, faith gives meaning to the decision. So data gives method to the decision. Okay, we like to see a short video of barriers of decision making. Okay.
In decision making or barriers in decision making. Be it your education, your career, choosing a life partner, or changing jobs. There are ample choices in any decision about major events of life, and choosing one out of many is a critical task. Choosing one from the many options in a given timeline is a skill. But many a times, this decision process encounters hurdles. These hurdles can be circumstantial or personal. Most of the times, personal or private hurdles are the reason that delay the decision making process. We'll see some examples of that. Experts claim that humans use up to only 3% of the capacity of their brains. Can you believe? 3%. Well, the remaining part is misused in WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, Candy Crush, PUBG, etc. No, it's not a joke at all. This only goes to show that we spend too much time and mind on unnecessary things. This wasted time is the first hurdle. Just think over it. No one likes hurdles in the decision making process, as well as humans try to avoid them. But this in itself poses as a hurdle in the process, in the fear that if I take this decision, then I may have to face this trouble. We tend to get distracted from our goal. And because of such preconceived notions, we keep pushing the decision to keep safe, which is another hurdle. You might be thinking about a problem, but there are a lot of other routine daily problems which are bothering you. Even if they are minute problems, they need your attention and only you can solve them. This takes a major chunk of your time and you are not able to concentrate on the primary issues and problems. In turn, you have to delay or shelve major decisions. This is a major hurdle in the decision making process. Unanimous agreement is the proof that we have taken the right decision. If you take this as final, then you will never reach a decision. This is because no two people think in the same way. Everyone thinks according to their own previous experiences and preconceived notions, owing to which everyone's viewpoint towards a problem or an issue can be different. Everyone will agree to your decision. That is not bound to happen. That is why the decision making process should be on the individual perspective and need not be universal. Emotional management. You may not be familiar with this term, but this is very important and inspirational. We encounter lot many emotions in our daily life: anger, jealousy, joy, sorrow, love, hatred, and many more. When any of these emotions goes beyond limit and you take it to your heart, solving hurdles and arriving at a decision takes the back seat and then consequent delay. So, it is very important to administer and keep your emotions in check. Be a failure but not a quitter. How well said. If you try, you might get success or failure, but not trying will leave zero chance of success. Thus, any of these hurdles in the decision making process can prove dangerous. Any job, however hard, presents some chance of success, so aim for that.
All right, we just watch some barriers about decision making process. Okay. Then we finish this chapter. Then we like to go with another chapter. Okay, which is communication and leadership and administration. I think yes. So communication in leadership and administration is not just about talking, okay? Talking to the people, tell the story. Yeah. It's all about connecting people for certain purpose. Like, you can apply, okay, when we talk to people, there should be purpose. I mean the good purpose, righteous purpose, okay? Nothing like, when you talk to people for your own sake, right? Take advantage of some other people's. We're not talking about something like this, okay? A good purpose, like for the church, you talk to people, communicate with people, with your colleague and with your ministers in the church. You can talk like how we can prove improve the number of the member of the church. That is the purpose of the church, right? And then also you can talk about how we can do the missionary work for other countries, right? That is also the purpose of the church. Yeah. So any organization, any communication, there should be a purpose. Okay. So that involves when we talk, there's always purpose. Okay, for good, there should be good reason why we communicate. And then when we communicate with others, it has purpose, and then that involves the factors, okay, which is listening, okay, when you listen, when you talk to people, okay, and then also discerning, and then articulating truth in a way that aligns your heart, your true mind, and toward a shared vision. That is all important factors in communicating with others. So as you are Christian leaders, communication is just act of worship and witness. Okay? So you have to consider communication is not just talking and listening. Okay? It has brought a higher purpose of communication, which is we have to see that in big purpose, in big scale, it is worship and the witness, the revealing God's truth. So, in a way, church leaders, they lead, speak, and serve. So it stands at the intersection of strategy and spirituality, and that making it one of the most powerful instruments of leadership transformation. So good communicators have more eligibility to become good leaders. So, to understand how effective communication serves as backbone of leadership and administration, fostering unity, motivation, and clarity in organizational settings, whether it could be church, business, and school. Okay? So leadership So the leadership succeeds or fails largely on others' ability to communicate vision, values, and directions. Okay, if you don't do good communicate with members, with people, about your vision and the values of your organization and the purpose, then the direction. If you don't communicate well with others, you fail. Okay, let's see what we can do. Okay. Okay, we'd like to see one video about what is communication.
Hi guys, welcome to Education Links. Talking is an integral part of our life. We talk to our friends, family members, co-workers, and strangers. But do we really communicate? Let's see how communication is different from talking. Talking refers to speaking words and sentences. Sometimes the message was clearly understood, sometimes not. But communication is sharing information between two or more people to reach a common understanding. Before you start communicating,
So communication is totally different from talking. Okay, communication is we just share the information with others.
Make sure your message is clear and easy to understand. Here are some examples.
So, Mr. John, tell me how you found about our company and this position we need to fill.
Actually, I found it while I was sitting in the toilet and browsing the internet with my smartphone.
Mr. John, you can leave now. Happy journey.
Hey, dude, why haven't you answered my email?
Your message was so poorly written that I didn't dare to start a dialogue.
Maybe I should talk with your boss.
Maybe you should email him.
From these two examples, you can clearly see how poor communication affects our life and career also. Now, let's discuss some important characteristics of communication. 1. Communication involves a minimum of two persons, the sender and the receiver. 2. It is basically a two-way process, and it is incomplete until the message has been understood by the receiver in the same sense. 3. The forms of communication are order, report, instruction, queries, etc. 4. It is influenced by the mood of thinking of both the sender and the receiver. 5. The main objectives of communication are to build interpersonal relationships and enhance human behavior. 6. Communication is a circular process that starts and ends with the sender. Now let's discuss the process of communication. As we learned before, that communication is a cyclic process that starts with the sender and ends with the sender in the form of feedback. It consists of some steps, where each step constitutes the essence of effective communication. 1. Sender. The sender is the initiator of the message that needs to be transmitted. After having created the information, idea, etc., the sender encodes it in such a manner that can be easy to understand by the receiver. 2. Message. The message is the main subject of communication. It is also called the heart of communication. A message contains a thought, idea, picture, symbol, report, or order to gestures and posts, serial uses. A message can be verbal or non-verbal. 3. Encoding. Putting the targeted message into an appropriate medium is called encoding. Encoding is very important because a wrong or inappropriate encoding may change the true intent of the communication. 4. Channel. It refers to the mode the message flows or is transmitted through. The message is transmitted over a channel that links the receiver with the sender. The message may be written or oral, and it can be transmitted through a computer, a cell phone, telephone, television, or a memorandum. 5. Receiver. The receiver is the person, group, or community for whom the message is meant. As the sender, the receiver is also an important factor in the communication process, as it is the other end of the process. The receiver should be in a fit condition when receiving the message, because any negligence on the behalf of the receiver may make the communication useless. 6. Decoding. Generally, it means comprehending the message. After receiving the message, the receiver interprets it and tries to understand it in the best possible manner. 7. Feedback. It is the response of the receiver to get the message sent by the sender. Feedback is necessary to ensure that the message has been successfully encoded, sent, and decoded. If you want to read about communication in detail, go through the link in the description. In the next video, I will discuss the types and the 7.
Okay, we just watched what is communication. Communication is sharing, totally different from talking to somebody. Okay, it is sharing information with others. It can be form of various, the medium, like you can directly talk. It can be verbal. It can be written, or sometimes it can be written on memo. Okay, it can be used as by email and message, any kind of technology. With those tools, you can also communicate. There's also two parties, sender and receiver. Okay, it is not communication is not only one way. Okay, you send message to receiver, and then you look forward to receiving the reply from receiver. Okay, important part. It is the most important part to become good leaders in any organization. So when you look, the communication is like relationship building. If you try to do this with this purpose, then you communicate with others. You can be a good communicator at the same time and good leaders. So communication is relationship building. So biblically, we can see communication is rooted in relationship between God and humanity and among people. In Genesis, God communicates, created into existence by His words, and everybody knows that God says. And then this foundational act establishes communication as both creative and revelatory. Okay, and then God's self-revelation through word culminates in Christ. So words, we see words become flesh and dwell among us. We see book of John, chapter 1 through 14. Okay, Jesus' life and teaching exemplify that true communication is incarnational and truth expressed in relational presence. So, any leaders who follow Jesus' example, they must learn communication as an act of service and connection. It is not manipulating or control something or somebody. Okay? It is act of service and connection. In point of the perspective of Bible. So it is medium through which they express care, establish truth, and empower others to participate in their missions. Another small topic we need to do is the spiritual dimension of leadership communications. So in Christian leadership, communication is not only functional, okay, but also spiritual. So every word carries moral and relational ways. You see Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21 that reminds us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. So the words can build up or destroy, kill or harm. So it is very important how the way you talk to, or when you're talking to somebody, the words that you use, it can be harm or it can be useful for building relationship with people. So it is very important. Use proper words when you talk, when you communicate with others. And leaders who speak truth with humility mirror Christ's characters. We can see Ephesians chapter 4 verse 15 that calls us to speak the truth in love. That is balancing honesty with compassion. So this balance distinguishes Christian communication from mere corporate rhetoric. It seeks transformation, not manipulation. So communication is guided by Holy Spirit that fosters unity, discernment with the body of Christ. So Book of Acts 15 that provides the example. During the theological dispute in the early church, the apostle engaged in open dialogue, listened to differing views, and reached consensus through spiritual-led communications. We can look the communication as perspective of administrative. Let me see. We need to see one video. Okay. So, administrator point of view. From the organizational standpoint, communication is a central process of administration. One of some scholars emphasize the importance of the communication that enables coordination, command, and control within the organizations. So whether in a church board meeting or school staff conferences, the administration's effectiveness that is depend on the ability about communication. It can be breakdown to the followings. So communicate expectations clearly. Also, you have to listen to feedback attentively. Another thing you have to remember is resolve misunderstanding diplomatically and reinforce mission and values consistently. That is the factors about ability to become good communicator. So the flows of communication, it can be upward, downward, lateral. So that determines the health and efficiency of any institution with good communication. And then also we like to see some consequences of poor communication. So miscommunication is one of the most common causes of organization conflict and failure. So in leadership context, the unclear or inconsistent communication that can lead to following consequences. It can be loss of trust and more, right? And then misalignment between department and or teams. And another following is a resistance to change and dismissed credibility of leadership. So we can find this in Proverbs chapter 21 verse 18. It says, word fitly spoken is like a pair of gold and setting of silver. So what it's saying is, what this verse say is, effective good communication is both strategic, sacred, a form of stewardship. Stewardship is always reflecting the wisdom, integrity, and love. Okay, before we go in, communication method, we'd like to see one video, okay? So first video we saw what is a good communicator to become a good leader, okay? Now, the method, how you can communicate better with a person as you are leader in the organization and institution. Okay, so let's watch short video.
When the true leader speaks, things happen. There's a couple of myths in many organizations about this idea of communication. The first myth is this, that we need more communication, more information in the organization. We really don't. In most of our organizations, we have too much information. We have actually too much communication. What we need is more meaning. What we need is more purpose.
Yeah, I think this is true. And some people said we need to communicate more, but most of our time for the communication is kind of meaningless. Okay, some people make good relationship with others with less communication, but it has true meaning, true heart. Okay, so the good communicator is not about the amount of time to communicate. Okay, 99% of your communication with others like less meaningful. That is useless. Okay, so yeah, that's understandable.
The second myth is around communication as a leadership competency. Many of us think about leadership communication as a competency like strategic thinking or project management, innovation, and the like. Think of it as an important competency, but a competency nonetheless. In fact, it's not a competency. Most organizations put it in their top 2 or 3 competencies because they see its importance. But leadership communication is not a competency. It is your leadership. Everything you do as a leader is manifest through your communication. It is simply that important. Leadership and communication are synonymous. Now, management communication is fundamentally different. It's important, but fundamentally different. Managers communicate accurate and timely information to help people do their jobs and do their jobs better. Important work. Leaders communicate to get people to think and act differently and in concert, working together, aligned, committed. Leaders push people past the normal cynicism in organizations, the doubt and uncertainty that exists. Their voice gets people aligned, engaged, and committed. But the challenges leaders are up against in organizations today.
Yeah, here it says different, okay? If you're a manager of certain team, okay, you do precise order to the people to perform certain work, right? Okay, for example, hey guys, you have to come to office tomorrow by 9 a.m. Then we do some a meeting and how we can prove, how we can design certain kind of project, right? And then I give you detailed order to each person, okay? That the manager does most time, right? But as you are a leader communication is different, little different from like manager communicate with employees and then members of your team. Okay, as you are a leader, you have to communicate with your institutions or organizations, value and vision, more like compassionate mind. Okay, without agreement or without understanding of institutions, vision and value, people don't go with it, right? So after fully understanding of companies, company's vision, church's vision, any organization, school's vision, if people don't understand what the vision of our church, if people don't understand what the vision of our business, so how you can make people work together and make collaboration, right? So it is important. As you are a leader, you have to communicate to the people with, for them to understand the values, vision of your company or organization or institution.
Enormous. Organizations are incredibly noisy places. Think about all the messages that are flying around organizations. So how can one voice, the leader's voice, your voice, be heard above the din of the crowd? It's not just about having good presentation skills. You know the skills: eye contact, modulating your voice, pacing your message, knowing your audience, tell them what you're going to tell them and tell them what you told them. These are all important skills, but not what it takes to be an effective leadership communicator. To be heard, really heard, leaders need to speak in 3 dimensions: personal, future, and story. Personal. All communication is personal. Whether you're ordering office supplies or describing corporate strategy, you need to be able to make a personal connection. At this moment,
Yeah, this is very important. Okay, you communicate with other, you order something in office depot, whatever you need to supply, right? For office paper and the supply for the copy machine or anything. Okay. Okay. Fact is simple. Okay. Hey, I am Peter in the blah blah company. I need 10 boxes of copy paper. Can you deliver us? Okay, that's the fact, what you want from the office depot, right? But when you talk to a person in Office Depot, you have to consider it is personal. Okay. Personal means, okay, what if, I'm the robot, okay? Robot cannot make a personal relationship with others. Because when you think communication is kind of personal, it is a very important aspect, element of making a relationship with others. You approach as personal, but the purpose is you are making business relationship with Office Depot and your company, right? So you could say something like that. Hey, John, how are you doing? How's your day today? Some people ask something like that, right? With true mind. Are you doing good? Yeah, that is kind of personal approach. Not just saying, hey, I need 10 bucks of, paper, copy paper, that's it. Deliver us, that, paper by tomorrow morning, like 9 a.m., something like that. Not only with this, okay, you have to go more with all communication is like personal approach.
Through this video, I'm either connecting with you personally or I'm not. You are deciding to either let my words touch you or not. I need to make that connection with you. Leaders do this by talking about passions and principles. They do it by talking about sacrifice, loyalty, service, community, the things that speak to the part of ourselves that we hold most dear. Leaders also must speak the simple, easily recognizable truth that stands out from all the spin and positioning and half-truths that float around organizations. People are listening for that truth teller, and they'll make a personal connection with the person they believe is telling them the truth. The second dimension is the dimension of the future. The thing that distinguishes leadership communication is that all leadership communication needs to be an invitation to a tomorrow that is better than today. Think about all the great communication you hear from your leaders.
You have to, as your leader, when you communicate with employee in your company, okay, you have to communicate with, hey guys, we have now taken hard time, okay? Our economy, whole country's economy is, lower and down. But in this harsh time, I want you to understand, our vision and value. Someday in the future, our business is getting bigger and grow, and then we can share the profit with you guys, Maybe some companies does, they share the stocks, right, with employees, something like that. So you have to give the kind of future dream that your people, your employee can follow that dream, okay? So it is important. As you are leader, you have to give them the reason why you are here, why you are work in our company for your future, personal future, okay? You grow yourself personally in our company and grow of your personal, that means also grow of our company. Yes, that is important.
Leaders communicate about a tomorrow that is better than today in some way, and that message is woven through all of their communications. And the third dimension is story. All great leaders are storytellers. Storytelling is the oldest form of communication and continues to be the most important form today. Neuroscientists agree upon one thing. They agree that we listen, think, and organize our minds in stories. We cannot change until we have a new story to replace an existing one. The leader's job is to help us create a new, bigger story, both for us and for our organization. Many leaders simply try to create a grand story for their organizations, but this often falls on deaf ears. The leaders who really have an impact are those that create big stories,
Okay, story builder, okay? everybody knows. When you look at the book, right? There's a textbook. Okay, textbook transform the information and knowledge to the paper, right? At the same time, we have the storybook, right? Novel. Okay, why we have novel? When you read some some kind of like love story in the history, right? Then because when we read the kind of essay and novels, the fictions, right? That tells us the emotional touch to the people. That is also important. You just not delivering the fact and truth only, okay? With the fact, truth, that is delivered in someone else's emotion that touches your emotion, the people getting that message with emotions, it is deeply, more likely understand. When you just, okay, let's see another example. Okay, the meaning of the message when we receive the message emotionally, that is more powerful than just reading the textbook. Okay, let's see. You guys have remember the movies or the songs many years ago. You heard or you watched the movie. Some people, remember all the scenes of the movie, right? Okay, me, I remember the movie classic, Korean movie. Okay, it was, what was the actor? What was the actor of classic movie? Movie name classic.
Movie name?
Classic.
Old boy?
No, not old boy. Yeah, old boy is a good example too. Movie classic. Oh, this one. I don't. Okay. Classic movie. This one. Okay. Okay. I still remember. I don't forget the scenes in this movie. Why? Why you don't forget that? Certain scenes movie. Also, you can tell the story of the movie, right? You just only watched one time. How do you remember that story? It was many years ago. Okay, compare this to the textbook. Many years ago, you learned some kind of, math, like more than 10 years ago. Do you remember what was? Yes, because certain messages delivered more effectively when we touched by emotion. Yeah, that's why the good leaders, they deliver their message with a good story. I mean, not fake story, okay? It is based on true story. But if you are a good leader, you can deliver that truth, the vision and value with a story that touches your people's mind. Okay? Then they can have kind of motivations, they can have desires, okay, they can have willingness, even though there's hardship in economies. Yes, that is a good kind of skill, tools that you have to equip when you communicate with people.
In which every one of us have a starring role. From the CEO to the receptionist, we all have a starring role. Think back on the great projects you've been part of, great organizations, great teams. It's very likely that there was a leader there who created a big story for your team, a big story for your organization, and made sure you had a starring role. So one voice, your voice, can make all the difference in the organization today. The leader's voice can be heard above the din of the crowd. We're all listening for it. We're straining to hear it. All of us who work within organizations are listening for that leader's voice. When the leader speaks, something inside us moves. It resonates with our deepest hopes and aspirations.
Okay, resonate means, resonate and aspiration is very important. Resonate means, nowadays people use vibe, right? Okay, let's say, okay, you and me have same vibe, okay? Like, many years ago, people used this, okay, we kind of same chemistry, something like that, right? That is resonance, okay? Your mind philosophy and my mind philosophy is kind of connected, communicate each other. That is a resonance. Okay, once the good leader resonate your company's value and vision, future with people in your company, then you can bring them to have aspiration. Aspiration is inspiration, okay? Inspiration is willingness to do anything, and that brings good ideas for certain work, something like that, right? Same. Inspiration is the good motivation giving to you is inspiration, but aspiration is with good communication. You have your inspiration that radiate to others. Okay. Same. Inspiration is kind of good positive motivation. Inspiration is good motivation coming from me to you is when I say I inspire you to do certain thing, okay? But when I say you aspire me to do certain thing, okay, same thing, whatever, okay? So good leader make people have aspiration to do anything in their position for the company and for their future, for their personal future. So important, resonance, communicate values, even personal things with people, vision, future. We are all same boat. Kind of resonance means like same chemistry, yeah. We have same vibe. We can say that. That is important, resonance. Then you can have people to have their own aspiration for themselves as individual, for the company, future. Yes. So it is important. You make People have inspiration. It is important. First, you have to have resonance. Resonance also means another good relationship with people. Okay, there are different ways of communication. Verbal, non-verbal, cross-cultural communication. So, effective communication is her bit of leadership, administration. Okay, here, another good communicator like Martin Luther King, right? He is also good communicator. The famous speech, I have dream, right? So, effective communication is the most important part of leadership and administration. It can be school, business, church. So always, as you are leader, you need to speak clearly, deliver clear message to the people. Also, you have to listen the feedback of people. That is important part. So communication involves not only about the words, not only about exchange words, right? With exchange of words, there should be meaningful words. You can do this like, tones, gestures, timing, cultural sensitivities when you communicate with others, okay? Cultural sensitivities like this. Okay, when you talk to Asian people, okay, it is different when you talk to, Western people, right? It is different when you talk to Korean people. It is different from when you talk to Japanese people, because people have all, have their cultural background, right? So, cultural sensitivities, when you meet other people, you senses, you respect their culture are different from my culture. So you have to, acknowledge, you have to notice, you have to know basic. If more you can understand, that's better, but you have to try to understand the cultural differences from your culture when you talk to somebody, when you communicate with somebody. Okay, and then verbal and yeah. So the balance, it is important, okay? There are different communicators, verbal, non-verbal, cultural sensitive, cultural communication, right? And then it is good element. When you talk, always truth. True mind is involved. Yeah. When you talk, when you order something, try to be, based on your true mind. My example is when I talk to somebody in other, like I said, I do administrator work in other school, right? When I talk to student, I talk like personally. Okay. When I meet a new student, I ask them, how's your living in the U.S., how's your family, And then also I tell my stories too, Yeah, I have a son and daughter, they do things, blah, blah. I try to build a basic, relationship with, students. And then sometimes they ask me to do something for them. So, once I build the relationship becomes, it can be kind of complicated. Okay, personal relationship is not only about personal, okay? It can be also business relationship too. And then it can be other relationship like, school administrator and then student relationship too. It combines everything, relationship. So, once I build any kind of relationship with a student, they trust me, okay? I try to understand, trust them too. So when they have any kind of, problem in the school, they always tell me, hey Peter, I have problem, so what can I do? So I give them some kind of good words and advices. So that make they want to continue studying in our school. Okay, so eventually, we grow number of students. So communication is very good. Sometimes students brought me the breakfast. Sometimes they brought me coffee, Starbucks coffee. Then also when they are, sometimes they ask for certain official document, right? Okay, I have my routine task. But when they ask, hey Peter, it is really urgent, can you do that for me? Some other people, no, come tomorrow. But when I do this, hey, wait like 5 minutes, I will make one for you. That's how I build a relationship with other people. Because I approach as personal. If I were a student, I need a certain document right now, but school says come tomorrow. It is not, sometimes it is very hard to accept that situation, right? So I want it now, but school says come tomorrow. I know that mind. So that's why I try to, connect them personally. I try to give them, answers right away, so that makes good, strong relationship with students. It can be personal relationship, it can be business relationship, it can be any kind of relationship, but the relationship is very strong. So sometimes you ask to a student to do something, okay? Nowadays, under Trump administration, immigration policy is very strict and very serious, right? So I asked students, hey guys, I give them call, you have to come to school every day, try it. Then I can protect you guys when officials come to school. They like to see the student paper, records, or anything, right? Then I can protect. If you don't come to school, I cannot protect you. So recently, many students come to school and then they take the class, like about 2 hours, they do it. Yeah. So if I want something from students, I can get it, okay? I get it. Because I know I make good relationship with the students. When I ask them, hey, John, please come to school, right time. They come, yeah. And then I also do anything they ask for me that I can do for them, I do it, yeah. So that makes good relationship. So in this chapter, small chapter says the balance of truth, your true mind, empathy. I said many times empathy, right? Empathy is like put yourself in someone else's situation. Okay? What if you were student, not administrator in the school? Yeah. They want the paper, document, the same day. What you gonna do? If you were a student, that is empathy. And then also it comes with authority. I am still administration. I have good relationship, strong relationship with student, but I have also authority. Okay, I tell student, hey guys, don't do this in the school. Okay, then listen. Yeah. Because I have authority as administrator. Once I build good relationship, we are all grown-ups, right? We don't play games. Yeah. Once I build good relationship, then as a school administrator, I have authority. Okay, when I tell something to student in school process, schoolings, right? Hey guys, don't be absent at the classroom. Try to come on time and finish the class, then I can protect you guys. So most recently, many students come one day, most of the day, they come like 20 students in the classroom recently. Sometimes more than 20 students in one class. So, your authorities always comes with truth and empathy. That's what I'm saying. So, leaders' verbal communication must have balance, truth, true mind, making good relationship with people, and true heart. And also you have to have empathy mind. Empathy mind is put yourself in someone else's situation. What if you were a student? What if you were president? What if you were, poor people? Okay? That is important. Also, always comes with authority. You are the boss. Boss has always have authority, right? Even though he has authority, he always approach to the people, his employee, like friends. Yes. Even though I approach like my employee as friends, then I tell some task to perform for them to do, right? They do it right away, even though I do approach as like personal. But it shows like personal, but the foundation is business like relationship. Because I have authority, and since I made good relationship with people, they do it, yeah. Okay, so three-dimensional: truth, empathy mind, authority. That is the most important part in the communication skills. So without this balance, communication risk. you don't balance truth, empathy, authority. I am a